Hey guys, I'm Shivam K, Singh, founder and CEO at Spaceonova, and your host today. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today in this live session where we will get to know more about satellites in conversation with Miss Mina Konaka. She is a satellite engineer at JAXA and a TEDx speaker. And before we begin with this session, I know you guys are very much excited. So just let us know in the comment section that if our audio and visual quality are good enough, just type boom in the chat section and we'll come to know that we are audible to you, all of you. Okay, so just let's wait for 30 seconds for any reply. Okay, cool. So I think we are very much audible to everybody. So once again, thank you so much, guys, for joining in, and thank you so much, Miss Meena, for accepting our request for this session. And she is also our judge in the satellite category for the India's first ever Space Science Challenge 2021. And with this, we won't delay. And Miss Meena, let's just begin with understanding you more about your journey and your introduction. So the stage is yours.
Hello everyone, I am Mina. Currently, I am working at JAXA as a satellite engineer, and then I'm more in charge of mechanical engineering itself. And so my journey, Shivam,
Yes,
um,
ma'am.
should I
So,
start with a question or?
yeah. So basically, you can tell us about yourself, in general, and how did you begin in this field, and a brief about your journey, and then we'll move forward.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am. We can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I will start.
Yes. You can.
I started my space journey actually when I was 10. My mom and I were working in the Tokyo station. So Tokyo is the capital of Japan. And then JAXA, which I didn't know that was space agency existing, was recruiting the name for lunar probe. And they were like recruiting the name on the public poll. And so Japan has a Moon Princess. It's an old story, and we thought about how about the name of the princess, and then we submitted the name. And after half a year, we got the notification from JAXA saying you named the lunar probe. And that's when I was so passionate about space. Like before that, I never thought space is something like people working for, or I can even involve as a work and then still getting salary for. And that's when I started space journey.
Awesome. So basically, this is how you got your first inspiration to begin
Yes.
your journey. And currently, as you are an expert in satellites, we'll begin with a common question which everyone has: that what exactly is a satellite, and why do we need so many of them?
Okay. Um, so satellite basically is actually like a robot machine which is launched to outside of the atmosphere, and it doesn't need to spin the earth, or it can stay. So like basically it's in outer space, and if it's working, it's called a satellite. And as long as it's serving the purpose, otherwise it's gonna be a space junk. And why do we need so many of them? So the satellite, actually, I feel like satellite itself is extensive things from our daily life. Like, when we were like living, we need a washing machine or microwave, right? And satellite is something similar. That's something invented, but we need in life. And for example, satellites are used for weather forecast and also communication. Like, there's a satellite TV show you can watch. And also, what else do we use satellite for? Actually, when you walk, like there's a GPS, and it's actually satellite technology. And that's why we need so many of them, because satellite, it's not just to serve for one purpose, but for many things.
And you're very much right. So as you mentioned that, just like in home, or we have various different functions. So each every satellite would have a different function, and according to that, we will have a different sort of satellites for that purpose. Either it could be for Earth observation, could be for defense purpose, and etc. So
Mhm.
I totally agree with you, ma'am. And moving forward, one thing which we would like love to know that as you are a not just a satellite engineer, but you are also a systems engineer. So we would love
Right.
to know about your role as a satellite system engineer and how does your day look like?
Okay. So satellite engineer, and then so the I am also system engineer. So the difference is I'm not in charge of just one component. The satellite has a base and also the payload part or mission part, and I am in charge of whole system. That's why it's called a system engineer. And then because it's satellite system engineer. And my days are like so. Actually, when you develop the satellite, there's a some phase from pre-phase A to pre-phase F, and these are like very technical words. So you can think preparation time, like design thinking. I think this is what you exactly are doing right now to come up with the missions. And then once you decide the mission, we actually choose the payload, and then we started designing and actual manufacturing, and it's ready to go. um, we start assembling them, and it's gonna be launched, and then satellite's gonna serve the purpose, and eventually it dies in up in space. So right now my work actually is in the assembling phase. So we have so many components that already evaluated and justified, but we have to see if each of them work accordingly. Even though one component works, as a whole system, we get so many errors. So we have to make sure that itself, without anyone modifying it, it has to work, and that's what I'm doing these days.
Awesome, awesome. And like many people might not be aware of. So as Ms. Mina has mentioned right now, that as a systems engineer, it's not just one thing which she has to look up for, which she has to take care of, or just one expertise, but to coordinate between all of them and to make sure that the system as a whole works and the results comes in is really an awesome job. And I personally really appreciate and love that part of being in systems engineer, where usually people say that you should always focus on one thing and you should always learn about one thing, but being in systems engineer, it is by default your job to learn about each and every aspect of
Oh,
one mission and stuff.
can I add one more thing?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I am actually mechanical system engineer. So like system satellite has electric power, communication thing, and also thermal and also structure part. And in my university until now, I am more familiar with the thermal design. And because thermal is such important up in space, because the temperature can get to minus 100 degree to up to 100 degree. For example, if it's a low Earth orbit, that's why thermal engineering is important in system engineering. So system engineering itself is actually not like one thing, but it actually have a lot of how do you say areas that you have to look at.
Definitely, definitely. And like as we are talking about satellites and how satellites helps us and the types of various types of satellites, there's always one thing which we usually come across, that with each and every innovation, we always come across certain problems also, right? And with this, I would like to ask you that what are the various problems faced in this domain of satellites? And if you would like to highlight some of them.
Programs, domain satellite. Do you mean by technology or more with like nationality or like security?
In all aspects, like from like space debris to maybe technical stuff and policies, whatever which you would like to highlight the important problems faced in this domain.
I see. So the program faced in the domain satellite, there are so many things. For example, once you launch the satellite, and if there is even tiny error which cause not functioning the satellite, then it's problem. So like doing something with space is very challenging because once it's launched, it's done. You cannot fix it. That's one problem. And then second is like you mentioned, space debris is also becoming a huge problem these days. Um, like space industry, I think started around 1960, so it's about 60 years ago. And then even though it's less than 100 years, we already have so many space debris orbiting around the Earth, and it's actually hitting to each other and making more space debris. And there's some research on it. And actually, there's some Japanese company try to reduce the number of space debris. There's a startup for that. So this, like as much as debris is a problem on Earth, around the Earth there are so many space debris. I think you can look at it, and then that's why these days it's being getting better because we have regulation. Once it's finished the purpose, you go to the atmosphere, and then there's no debris. But all the days people didn't think about it, so they just launched, and there are now space debris, so many of them, and then it's actually like a cluster. So once the cluster hits another cluster, it's gonna make more smaller thing, and it's very dangerous because the speed is same as a bird.
Definitely, definitely. And as you mentioned about this problem of space debris, there's one common question which I get a lot, and I would like to ask you that just like we have reusable launch vehicles, which SpaceX and other companies are working on, is there a possibility and is there any plan or any progress in making of a reusable satellite so that when their tenure, their term is over, and they can come back to Earth or can be reused in some other manner? Is there any possibility of that or any progress in this domain?
Okay, so my answer is it's halfway there. So we actually don't have the technology where we can reuse the satellite again, but there's a research about it. For example, Hubble telescope was launched, and it was actually fixed by an astronaut. So like if there's a human's hands, can we use satellite of its part? If there's a human's hand, it's easy to fix the satellite components. So these days, there's a research where we launch a robot, and then the robots replace some of the fuel or like some of the solar panels. The problem with the space is radiation, and then it kind of damage the material, and then eventually it doesn't function anymore. And that's why if we replace them, the problem part, it's still reusable. So it's different. The technology, space industry is moving forward to it, but it hasn't done yet.
Awesome, and that's a great news. Like if it's really possible and it becomes a reality in near future, I think considerable amount and portion of the problem will be solved if we are able to reuse even to some extent. So like thank you so much for sharing that information, and that really brings up hope among students. And I believe the participants of Space Science Challenge who are there, maybe in this competition, if you are able to qualify further, I think this could be one problem which they can definitely work upon and progress further. So at this point, I will take one question from the audience. So Navneel Sarangi is asking that USA recently announced plans to send a nuclear powered satellite. What are the hazards related to such a technology or benefits?
Okay, nuclear powered satellite. It's actually very, I think, decent if we don't think about the danger caused to human body or to the environment. So it's pros and cons like this. Navarnio asked. For example, we need the power, and so far in space, sun energy is only the source, or we have to bring our source to space and then use it. And once we use it, it runs out that it cannot function. So that's why nuclear powered, anything working with a nuclear powered it's very useful and it lasts longer and it benefits because it's very strong. However, if of course there's a hazards, like we are using nuclear power plant even on Earth, and when it's explode, it's a damage to human or the environment. That's why we have to think where to use it for. But it's very nuclear power satellite is actually very practical in if it's going to space. So as long as it doesn't damage the thing on the board, or as long as it's kept safe and there's like failure safe plan, anything damage happen and it doesn't explode, I think it's actually possible. And I think some of people are planning to like actually produce it.
Hmm. Awesome, and I feel this kinds of demands that just like students and many people, they are very much interested in working towards rocket propulsion. They should also focus on satellite propulsion in space, like during the space, and what sort of things the technology we are working on. And I would the session is all about that, like encouraging you all guys, the audience who are watching this, to make you guys aware of various domain in which you all can innovate. And I believe I will again take this opportunity to highlight this part, that just like you guys are very much excited to work on rocket propulsion, make sure that you guys are also focusing on innovating somewhere on propulsion technology related to satellites. And like moving forward with that, uh, earlier we discussed about like why we need so many types of satellites and its various applications. And this brings us to the part where in one of your TEDx talk you also mentioned about using space technology, the satellite technology for entertainment. And I would definitely want to ask you that, please, like give us more insights on how we can use satellite technology in the entertainment industry, and how far we have progressed in this regard.
Okay. Actually, it's a good example that I involved in my university life. It's crazy idea, but there's a startup company where they try to have a shooting star by the satellite, so artificial shooting star. So it's like a firework, but it's like you can see in the night anywhere, like for example on your birthday. If you target one place and if you look at the sky, you can see the shooting star with many colors. Like you can choose the chemicals. And then I actually did a like an internship in my master degree there, and then they launched two satellites already. And then unfortunately, the last one or the both of them actually didn't work, but it was almost there, and it was just the one friction error with machine component that they couldn't succeed. So far, I know that entertainment is actually very possible, and then also um, if it's not only satellite, everybody dreams to go to space. So it's kind of like, tourism is also like entertainment, right? And then also there's there's a business they are selling the how do you say land on the moon, and I think it's also some kind of entertainment. So if you have like any crazy idea and if you connect to space, I'm sure you can expand to like the entertainment business.
Definitely, and it's amazing to, like, even I never thought of that. The satellite technology or the space industry in future can also be used for entertainment purpose, and that mission to using it for entertainment can actually drive the innovation to be more sophisticated, so that it's actually able to serve its purpose. Because for entertaining, suppose even if we are using drones for entertainment, we will need them to move in a certain way, in a more smooth manner. We cannot have it moving in a more like mechanical or robotic dance like the old days. So this gives us a new horizon to explore, new domain to explore, that how we can use the space industry or the satellite technology in the entertainment parts. And yeah, like I'm really excited to know that how this turns out to be, and how this progresses forward. Like surely tourism is one thing which everyone knows about, but another thing which you mentioned about the shooting stars, now that's something which is it sounds it's so crazy and stuff, but the fact it's actually becoming a reality and we have progressed in that regard, it's really amazing to know about that. So I think
Exactly.
at this point, I will try to see. We are getting a lot of questions from the audience. So I think, yeah, there is one question from Sarishan when that uh, how far have we come on using ion thrusters for satellites, and how is it better than normal uh, gas thrusters and stuff like that? So maybe if you could give us some insights over that.
Okay, so first, I am not the propulsion engineer, but I can tell you what I know already. So, satellites do use ion cluster. For example, in JAXA, there's a satellite which attached us like ion cluster. So, I don't know how much you guys know about cluster. They are like chemical type and ion type, and also like there's electrical type. And if you use ion cluster, that's that lasts long. So the good thing about ion cluster is it lasts long, but the cons are it's a little bit weaker than chemical clusters. So if you wanna rotate a little bit, then you might wanna use ion cluster. But if you need to move like the orbit or something, maybe you might need a stronger cluster. And how is it's better than other normal gas cluster? Yeah. So ion cluster, it's actually very hot topic. Because people are go like planning to go to asteroid, and then ion cluster is actually really good method to go to like super far, and it's very popular. So like yeah, so this celestial wind, if you are interested in, I think you should research more, and then you can invent the best one that lasts long and it's longer.
Awesome. And ma'am, like at this point, like as we are already aware that Japan suffers a lot from earthquakes and disasters like that. So, like, please give us like more insights on how does Japan uses the satellite technology for disaster management, and what would like the whole world can learn from this.
Okay, so uh, I can say like the satellite currently working on in JAXA is actually specific for disaster. And we use a special radar to detect the abnormalities on ground. So anything kind of slip or they make difference, we can detect it. Then this applies to like flood, and then also like I know that India also has lots of floods, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely in some ways.
yeah. So if you use this technology like radar detection, and if you can actually predict where it's gonna spread, and we have technology that we can predict that in 1 hour or two to like warn people like it's gonna be flooded, so you have to evacuate. Japan is using the satellite technology to monitor anything like in abnormalities near the mountain, and then we detect the eruption and the earthquake and then flood, and also we can see before and after of tsunami. And yeah, so satellite technology actually is very important for Japan to have for preparing for disaster. And I think like actually like in Asian countries we have lots of natural disasters. So I think we should have like always monitoring the area, right?
Definitely, like I think that's why we will need a lot of companies, not just government, but even I think private space companies, which works towards Earth observation and then sharing that data with the government or other concerned authorities to actually make a use of it. And as you mentioned, that Japan continuously monitors each and every sort of disasters and something, and that's really appreciable to see how you guys are trying to minimize the time and either predict it or just inform the whole citizens within an hour or so of the disaster so that they can evacuate. And that's actually appreciable because the weather and disaster, any natural disaster, these are one of the things, no matter how much we try, they always tend to surprise us. And trying to actually work towards that, innovating towards that, I think this will make me again highlight another problem, another things which I will be hoping from the participants of Space Science Challenge uh, this time to take up, and they can think over how they can innovate in this. And yeah, like this is another highlight, another idea which you all can work upon.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like moving forward with the questions, and as we know that this whole session was dedicated for the participants of Space Science Challenge, and I'm sure most of them are here. What we would love to know from you is what are your advice for the participants of Space Science Challenge, and like what do you expect them to work upon, and like any encouragement which you would like to give to them.
Okay. So my understanding is this tool, it doesn't need to be practical, right? Even though like, it's we use the technology, but uh I want you to come up with something like no, people haven't tried like, because if you want to make something, usually we need money. But like with this challenge, you don't need to think much about the cost, but more with like, the solutions for like in our society or our arts. And then if your idea might inspire and maybe some organization or space agency, and it might come to truth. So I really want you to think about your program, like we talk about like disasters or like entertainment, and also reusable satellites. Those are like still need to progress, or like it hasn't actually happened in reality yet. So I want you to think more, and then I'm sure this is going to inspire others. So I hope you don't get restrained by like oh, this is not practical, this is not realistic. It is realistic if you can think about first, and anything you can imagine, I'm sure it's gonna come true. So, and also I want you to think space is not the dream. Space is actually extension of living on Earth. And we are already like if you ask, if you think there's alien, we are the aliens because we live in space. So space is not special. Space is like just a part of our life. This is my encouragement to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words and the encouragement which you gave to our participants of Space Science Challenge. And, like many of them or many peer students who are like very much interested in space, but they always tend to ask this common question that I'm from a non-engineer background. How can I begin my journey in the field of space sciences in the space industry? Is space even for me? And I would love to know, like, what is your take on that, and what is your guidance that how a non-engineer enthusiast can begin their journey in the field of satellite technology, in the field of space sciences in general.
Okay. Actually, engineer is just part of a job, just like on our Earth. So my message is, you don't need to be engineer to involve with space. Actually, you have more maybe to involve with more important part for space industry. I feel like personally, because everything we need on Earth will be needed in space. For example, if we move to the moon, think about what we need. We need a house, see, so we need, like we need electricity, we need a house, and also, some people might fight to each other, so we need a lawyer, and then we need a business person to, to sell something in space. So everything is connected to space, and also for lawyer, right now like space regulations are not how do you say regulated correctly. Depending on the country, they have different rules, and then so it's actually not peace. It's more like people try to get the profits, and then sometimes the other countries don't follow. So like we need actually how do you say foundation where we say this is a rule, and I think for that we need lawyers, and also we of course need a business person, because everything that engineers make, it's going to be expensive. but business people can help that to make it happen or cheaper. And also we need hairstylists on the moon, in space. Actually, like astronauts cut their hair by themselves, right? So we need those people, and we need artists too, because if we bring poets to the space, like you want to hear what the person's gonna say, right? So we need all the kinds of people, just like we need them on Earth.
Definitely, and as you mentioned, and you highlighted some of the important points like hairstylists or people, just like we need them on Earth, the lawyers, the business people, and as anyone who would step into the field of space, I believe they can just take up any field, any area, and just add astro or space to it. There's definitely a great amount of possibility that that field already
Yeah.
exists, and people are thinking about that because at the end we are human beings, and if we are going to space we will need the human civilization to thrive there, and for human civilization to thrive we will need everything which is already there on earth. So yeah, like I think that really answers the question that you don't need to be an engineer to really step into the field and begin your journey. You can begin your journey by being a non-engineer, and then maybe you might get interested in engineering or non-engineering part and pursue it further. And I think audience they are kind of very much excited now. So let me give some time for the audience, guys. Ask your questions in the comment section. I will pick few of them to ask to Ms. Meena, and then we'll move forward with our last question of the session. So I'll be taking few questions from the comment sections now, one by one. So I'm hoping you guys will be posting them soon. Let's wait. So okay, I think people are excited about being a space hairstylist. Someone is commenting about that.
Okay.
Okay. There is one question from Satpriya Das that space laws are still developing. So, how I can benefit from that, even if I'm in engineering physics part. So, I think they're asking, can we really switch between the careers in space? Like, if we are from engineering and want to move to a
Okay.
non-engineering domain, is it possible? Something like that, maybe they're asking.
Mm-hmm. So, like, actually, it's also my challenge too. I started my career with space engineering, and I realized I need more than that. I need to know policy, I need to know business, and now I'm learning all of them. And then, so first, I think Satipriya, you need to have someone, one specific thing you can say. This is my profession, and once you are like, like a world leading leader for that part, then you can move on to policy. I'm sure, and then you can apply your knowledge to the policy making, and then you can have another, like a column. But first, you need to have your profession, and you can say like, because of this engineering physics part, I think this policy has to happen, or like you can give some insights which the people who only did the part doesn't know, right?
Definitely. So I think, ma'am, as you mentioned that if we are a professional in a given field, we can actually advise the government or the concerned authorities that what sort of policies they can change or they can come up with. So, like recently, just like in India, currently with the privatization of space, with the establishment of N space, there were a lot of companies, a lot of professionals who came up with various draft of policies that how this should unfold. And I think most of the Indian audience were right now here, they would be able to relate to that. And I'm just giving this an example so that you could relate with ma'am's answer, that just like these professionals were qualified and were able to suggest these policies to ISRO, same manner, whatever field which you want to be in for the space, and if you want to affect its policies or decision making process, definitely first be that professional, and then you can further on go on to actually suggest the necessary changes. And at this point I would also like to highlight this part that networking is very much important. So just like today you guys are able to listen to Ms. Mina Konaka here and her knowledge right now, definitely make sure that you are able to network with similar mind people either through LinkedIn and other platforms where you can leverage that, and even they can help you in moving forward with your career and giving you some guidance. So at Spaceonova, we are trying our best to bring all those professionals here at one place, so that you can get everything from a single place. But if suppose if we miss out anything, you can either tell us or you can even try to approach them individually. So yeah, like that's for this part.
That's good point. You
And
made a point.
uh, yes. So, like we what we say in India here is that after all, your network is your net worth, and
Oh,
that's how we decide that what is more important. Like even more than the other part, the revenue generation, it's network which will actually help you move forward.
okay. I didn't know that. Thank you. I learned something. Network is net
Yeah,
worth.
like and the last question which I would love to ask you is that during the process of us pursuing our dreams, it's always important that we stay motivated, we get inspired from some other people or through various sources, and most of the people which we observe who are at a higher professional stage of their life, they love reading books. So we would love to know, like, which book do you love to read, which inspires you to pursue your dreams, and if you would love to share and suggest those books to our audience.
So I think it's a book, but it's actually a movie that inspires me. Is it okay?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So like there are so many favorite movies that I can recommend to you. First, like if you are if you're just dreaming space and if you just want to make something and launch to space, that October Sky. It's a really good movie you can watch. Um, do you know October Sky?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like that. That was one of the first rocket movie which I watched when I was like just in my high school.
Yeah. And then another one is actually it came. Um, hold on. I have so much to it. There's Apollo 13. That's also classic, and you can actually see the details, technical part from the movie. Like to go to the moon and then come back. Um, and then what else? I think I watched the like recently a movie. The Indians send a probe to the Mars. Is it correct?
Yeah. So, are you referring to our Mangalyaan mission, like the Mars
Yes,
orbiter
that
mission?
one. Yes, that one. I was so amazed. I watched the Indian movie in Tokyo, like this year, I think. And then the way you guys think is amazing. From daily life skills, and then there's so many female engineers too. And then with like less cost, it's amazing. And that's what space should be like.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And like the one thing the engineers in India they are known for is what we call as jugaad in Hindi. It literally means that engineers in India, what we really do is we tend to find out of the box solutions to do some stuff because we are lazy. We don't want to do hard work, so we always try to find out an easier method to do stuff. And this kinds of reflects in various other parts, even when we are in pressure or when we want to do something, we tend to think of those, trying to automate stuff or trying to find out an easier method to do that. So I think that's what kind of has gotten into the blood veins of all Indians right now.
And then one more thing for female, especially for female, audience. I want you to watch The Hidden Figure. This is a movie about uh, woman worked for NASA, which wasn't recognized at time, but actually she or they contributed to Apollo project, and then it's amazing to see, against racism and also sexualism, they are still like working for the dream of space, and then that inspires me too because my workplace it's also lots of men and it's actually like super older than me, but because of the passion, like I try not to think about like as a race or like age or sex. It doesn't matter because everybody loves space. So what I like about people working for space is because they share the same thing. They share the interest for space.
Definitely. And we would also love to know, as you mentioned that you love to watch even the Indian movies and stuff. We would love to know that is there any Japanese movie or maybe anime which you would like to suggest to our audience, which we would
Ah,
definitely love to watch through our subtitles.
okay, I came up just with two um comic or anime you can maybe watch. The first one is Space Brothers. Do you know that? Do you know that comic?
No, not yet, not yet. We do read manga, the Japanese comics, but not aware of them yet.
Okay, Space Brothers is a story how the brothers become astronauts and then going to the moon or like somewhere. And then it actually, how do you say, describe well how to become an astronaut and then how also how to overcome the like cultural difference when you're training to be an astronaut. So it's very Japanese, I think. But you can read it, Space Brothers. And then second thing, we talk about space debris today, and it's a story about space sweepers, kind of. It's called Planetes in Japanese. I don't know in Indian, but it's called Planetes. Space, and then the people actually cleaning space debris. Um, and then it's actually like no special job. It's a dangerous job and people don't want to do it, but the main character has to do it. And then so it actually shows a danger that happens to like people who try to clean space or who you're in space. Yeah, so it's very like both of them are really realistic.
Awesome. And the way you have explained about the two animes, it's so intriguing that like the moment you were talking about that, I'm like, okay, like we have a community on Discord of all the space enthusiasts. We were like, we will try to find out that anime and we'll stream that on live on a Discord and we'll watch it together. So
Okay.
thank you so much for sharing that.
Hmm. Of course, yeah, like Japan's famous for those culture, and those culture actually helps, you know, um, spreading the ideas or inspiring people. I these days I have many colleagues who are inspired by those comics, just like Star Wars in for older
Definitely.
people.
And like you won't believe that the manga, the Japanese manga, which like there are a lot of fans in India who read that, and even if I talk about myself personally, we really love the way it is presented, the story, and even the sort of inspiration, the way you all unfold the whole story. It's so inspirational that I would say that especially for me, there were a lot of times when I felt low in my life, and by reading those manga, it kind of literally took me out of that situation. It gave me that
Yeah.
motivation. So I'm pretty sure that reading a manga, something which is specific to space, will
Mhm.
is definitely going to inspire a lot of audience out here who are watching us right now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, so with this, we'll see that if we have any last questions from the audience, and then we will conclude the session. So, guys, if you have any queries or concerns which you want to ask, this is your chance now. I think people are loving this suggestion. Many people, some of them have watched it, so they are mentioning that about the Space Brothers and the Planetes, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay. Yeah.
So let me wait for 30 seconds if there is any questions coming in. Okay, there's one question from Aksharas. She's asking that which is the best book till now about aerospace engineering and astronomy, which you might have maybe I think she's asking about any technical book which you might have read for your growth, technical growth.
So like is he or he asking about textbook, technical book or
Yeah, maybe something like a textbook or any writer's author's book.
also like if you wanna learn about the satellite, this is a Bible. Can you see?
Yeah, yeah, we can see the space mission engineering, the new SMAD.
Yes. So this book, if you have this book, it's super thick, but this tells you everything, every part you need to know about thermal, electrical structure, vibration, and then communication, and then like how to like plan the mission. But it's actually expensive and then huge, and then yeah, it's a lot of text. So, but like if you are really into it, you can read this, and also there's a NASA Handbook of System Engineering available online for free. NASA have a lot of things published for free, so you can just search NASA Systems Engineering, and then that's also learn about systems engineering.
Awesome. So thank you so much, ma'am, for like such a wonderful suggestion. So that usually people have this problem that they are very much interested in learning something about, but they don't know how from where we can find everything at one place. So as you mentioned, that this book is like the Bible for learning about satellites. So I believe this will help them a lot to get most of the knowledge from one source itself, and will save a lot of time. And like, thank you so much for all your suggestions and the knowledge which you gave today. And before we conclude this session, is there any last words, any last advice which you would like to give to our audience? Anything which you would like to convey?
So, okay, my message to the audience, if I specify with India and Japan, we are collaborating for going to the Mars or Moon together. I think it's for the Moon. And it's beautiful, right? Like international collaboration. And then that's the beauty of involving with space because even though there's a policy regulations, but still we need to, match with our strengths to go to challenge to something unknown. So that's the really exciting part about space. And then these days, satellites are becoming more like infrastructure. It's like we need that to our life, and that's also something interesting because in 20 years or even in 10 years you never know, like you might be up in space. Like 60 years ago we started like space technology, and now we are like till like this high, and I'm sure it's going to accelerate more. So I think this is a good start for this competition, that you think about space and then you actually jump into space industry. So good luck.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your kind words. And guys, with this, we'll conclude this session. And before going out, seeing you guys, bye bye. I just want to say that do look out for ssc.spaceonova.com. That is where we are giving out all the information about the Space Science Challenge 2021. And it is an open challenge for everyone. It is free of cost. You can register for free. And in this challenge, we have two categories: rocketry and satellites. And if you guys think that you never had a platform to showcase your talent in this domain, now is your chance. And even if you want to learn and you feel you don't have a much knowledge about that, even then it's fine. You never know that while going through each and every level you might learn a lot that you might even win in the end, right? So don't never ever doubt your intelligence, just always check the pointer method. And I would encourage each and everyone to participate in the Space and Challenge. And if you guys are lucky enough and you are there in the grand finale, you will meet Miss Mina Konaka again in the grand finale. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning with us. And bye bye. Take care.
Bye, thank you.